Okay, everybody, welcome into the Texas Postgame Show, or the 40 Acre Show, as we like to call it. I am Matthew Miller. This is D4 Sports with me. Obviously, not a good game for us Longhorns. We lost to the Pokes down in Oklahoma, 41-34. What do you think of the game overall, D4?
Sloppy. Can't hold a lead. Secondary getting roasted. I mean, there's so many things we could go over in this game. Everything that we're about to receive in the comment section is well warranted. And hope you guys get creative with it at least.
Well, I can tell you the first comment we got, we'll just throw it up here because it wasn't very creative. John Delane, is Texas back yet? I'm getting tired of waiting. No, we never said we were. The only guy that said what we were was Sam Ellinger, and that was it. But we're obviously not back. And D4 and I discussed this, and we talked about this preseason and now. We have Oklahoma State and Kansas State back to back, and we thought we'd go 1-1 in those games. We're 0-1 right now. I do think we beat Kansas State now. In the preseason, I had us losing there, but I had us winning Oklahoma State. We lost versus Oklahoma State, so now I think we'll beat Kansas State. We have to beat Kansas State, though. We cannot lose back-to-back games here. We cannot go 5-4. This team has to end this season 8-4. They have to. Overall, just an abysmal game. We had penalties out the wazoo. Kelvin Banks, by far his worst game as a college player. There are multiple plays where he got beat. There was a couple penalty or plays on him where he probably should have been called for holding. It's funny because the one holding call that we didn't get called on, or we did get called on that I didn't think was holding, was Christian Jones. That was a pancake. That was not a hold. He just pancaked him. Yeah, because that was actually a good rep. But there was other plays in the game where we had holding, we had false starts, just overall sloppy. I will bring up Oklahoma State had 0 penalties. There's no way in hell that happened. There's no way in hell a team went that long, or 60 minutes of a game, and had 0 penalties. But I'm only going to discuss that once now because there's no way it's happened. And it didn't look, honestly, we should have won this game regardless. Like, Quinn Ewers had an awful game. If he could have just thrown, I don't even think he completed 50% of passes. If he completed 50% of passes, I think we win the game. So overall, just terrible. The first half was like we were running it down their throat, and then the second half we couldn't run the ball at all.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers, 19 of 49. Two touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Overthrew Xavier Worthy at least
half a dozen times.
Yeah, no, at least a dozen times, because he was targeted. He was targeted, I think, like 15 or so times, and only had 4 receptions. So, it is what it is. Bijan and Roshan look good in the first half, both having a touchdown apiece, a 42-yarder and a 52-yarder, I believe. And Spencer Sanders showed up when it mattered the most. And it seemed like when we got into the red zone defense, it was just like, Olay, go ahead and go. It's just, I think it's a game where I think it's a learning. I mean, if you look earlier in the day, Dabo pulled DJ. Sometimes you have to do it.
Yeah, and the thing is, after the game, if anyone listened to Dabo, he said he made he yelled it from the mountaintops, like, DJ is our starter. I did this to win this game. This was for this game only. Mm-hmm. And I have no issue with that if you want to do that. I think Sark at that moment, if he did decide to pull that trigger, he just needs to go over to Ewers, explain to him, hey, listen, you're not playing well today. You're still our quarterback, but today it's going to be Hudson, okay? So that's the situation that probably should have happened in this game. I think it would have helped because I think, especially if Steve Sarkisian allows Hudson Card to be himself and run the ball, I think there was chances in this game to take advantage of the Oklahoma State defense running with the quarterback, because they were kind of selling out to just attack Quinn Ewers. I mean, you saw they got to him a lot today. He did have to throw off his back foot a lot to get rid of the ball. The offensive line, by far its worst game. They played absolutely terrible, especially in the second half. And once they decided, Oklahoma State decided to stop the counter play, it was over. We couldn't run the ball. Like, the counter was there in the first half. They took it away in the second half, and there was no running opportunities from there. I wish we'd have saw more. Again, for some reason, Steve Sarkisian in the big games likes to do all these motions, all these screens and stuff like that. In these games, he just doesn't do that. He doesn't run enough motion, in my opinion. He doesn't run enough screens. Jordan Whittington didn't get the ball that much today. Jatavian Sanders barely got the ball until later in the game. I have an issue with that. So it's just overall just a weird game plan, in my opinion. What do you think? about the game plan.
It seems like the further you get into the game, the more predictable the play calling gets. He comes out with the scripted plays and, all kinds of motions, getting guys out in space. We seen on the Xavier Worthy touchdown where, he went in a motion and nobody covered him. Or, the wheel route out of the backfield to Bijan, just, creative plays. But the further you get into the game, the more predictable it goes. So, and everybody was ready to crown Quinn Ewers as the next king of college football. He didn't live up to the billing.
No, you can see the arm talent. What you see his issue is reading defenses. I think people have pointed that out. He's a one read guy. Like if the one read's there, he can get you the ball and it's going to be spectacular with his arm strength and everything, but he's not great at reading defenses at this point. And that's to be, I guess, expected. He's a freshman. I don't expect him to be out there diagnosing blitzes and stuff like that, but he still has to be better at getting to his multiple reads. I think the best example of that was the play where we luckily got a false start later there on that last drive, because that was literally, he knew exactly before the play happened where he was going with that ball, and he was going there no matter what. It wouldn't have mattered. He was going there, and you can't do that. Like, that's just, you can get away with that in high school. You can't get away with that in college. You definitely can't get away with that in the NFL. You have to be able to diagnose and react on your feet, and if you can't learn to do that, then he's just going to be one of those guys to where you're going to have all the arm talent. I think you see that with Clemson. Like, DJ has an insane arm, but the guy can't read defense. At some point, you're going to have to read defenses, and you're going to react to what they're doing and adjust from that. And I think you saw Derek Mason kind of see that in the first half, like what Quinn was good at, change it up to confuse him. And then when he's confused, he was absolutely abysmal in the second half. I don't know what his numbers were in the second half, but at one point he was 7 of his last 19. My guess, he's probably finished in the second half of like 10 of 27 or something like that. It was pretty damn bad. It was really bad, in fact. And especially since we couldn't run the ball, we had nothing else to rely on. Like, there was nothing else there.
Yeah, it's just it's laughable, man. Go on a 3-game win streak, and there's no explanation, man. Can't finish a game. 31-17. That's the time to pour it on, and just can't get it done.
John, I believe you said Texas would finish 5-7 again. I will bet you $1,000 we win one more game this year. Like, I will seriously, if you want to bet 1,000, I will bet you $1,000. We will win at least one more game. I'm very confident in that, especially after watching Baylor and Kansas play today, because we're beating one of those teams, two teams for sure, if not both. But I mean, I would agree. It would be somewhat of a, if we fall apart, if we lose to Kansas State next week, I could see us only winning one more game on the rest of the season, which would that would be falling apart, but you would still be just as wrong as we were, John. I still think this team's an 8-4 team. I think we're going to be 8-4. Like I said, that still gives us another loss. We could lose next week and we win out. We're still 8-4. And if we win next week, I really believe we're going to go 8-4. Because again, Kansas and Baylor didn't impress me. Who else do we have on our schedule after Kansas State? Are those our last 2 games, Kansas and Baylor?
Kansas, Baylor, and why is my house phone ringing? Sorry.
No, you're good. I think that is. I think you lose to Kansas State. 100% possible. I predicted that we'd lose to Kansas State in the preseason, so I could see that happening. D4 thought we'd lose to Oklahoma State. He was right about that. I thought we'd win this game, lose next week. Hopefully it's the reverse. He had the reverse where we lose this week, win next week. And obviously I'm rooting for that. I don't want to be right, but Kansas State's a good team. That wouldn't surprise me. We had played TCU as well. That was the one team. So if we win those games, we'll go 9-3. If we split, we'll probably go 8-4. Like I said, Baylor and Kansas don't scare me. I mean, minimum on this team is 6-6. But 6-6 is a disappointing season. I don't look at that and say, oh, a good season. Like 8-4 was where we needed to be this year, in my opinion. No pass game equals no run game. They literally key on the run. Yeah, they did key on the run in the second half. They didn't in the first half. And it was more of the run plays they keyed on. They keyed on the counter play. Once we decided that we were going to use counter a lot more than we normally do, we usually a zone run team. Counter was more of Tom Herman's thing. And once they figure that out, they shut us down and they and we couldn't do anything. And obviously Quinn Ewers had an abysmal game. I do think some of that has to do with the wind, but not much. Like probably 3 to 4 of those passes were because of the wind. The rest of it, he just made bad reads. And then I think, again, wasn't anticipating enough. And he may not be capable of that at this point. And if he struggles like this in the first half next week versus Kansas State, you got to pull him. And you got to and you have to put in Hudson Card. I don't know if Steve Sarkisian has the balls to do that. We'll find out, because to me, a championship coach has the balls to do that. You saw Dabo Sweeney do it. You saw Lincoln Riley do it last year in the Red River rivalry with Caleb Williams over Spencer Rattler. So when your team is struggling, that doesn't mean you have to make a permanent change going forward, but you have to make a change in that game. And you also have to make that clear to Quinn Ewers that this is just for that game. I don't think I predicted 5-7. I think that was another don't be surprised. Okay, well, okay, that's fair. I'm not surprised. I never expected us to win out. I never thought that. I think this college playoff talk was absolutely insane. This defense is nowhere near college football level. Quinn Ewers is not there intellectually as a quarterback for this to be college football level. We were not there. Again, I thought the high point after last week was 9-3. I thought the low point was 8-4. I could be wrong on the low point. The low point could be 6-6, and that would be a disappointing season.
Yeah, I completely 100% agree with that. Definitely a disappointing season for sure.
But I'm very confident saying we will win 6 games. Obviously, that's not a good thing. But again, I watched Baylor and Kansas State. We're beating one of those teams. I don't think we're getting beat 3 times in a row with I believe we play Kansas State and then we play TCU. So I don't think we're losing Oklahoma State, Kansas State, and TCU. That'd be really abysmal if that happened, but I don't think it's going to happen. I think there's a really good chance now that we split the 2 games between TCU and Kansas State, and we end up going, like I said, I think we still went out between Kansas and Baylor, but that put us at 8-4. And again, I'm cool with that, but it's also the matter of how we finish out the season. Like, we just can't be doing this over and over again where we continuously blow second half leads like we did last year. That was our biggest issue. And if it keeps coming back to that, then that's an issue with the coaching staff, obviously, if you just continuously blow these leads in the second half. And it's always the 14 points. We can never crush that or go past that 14-point threshold to where we make it a uphill climb where teams actually have to change their game plans. We're always stuck on that 14 points, and teams are able to stay within their game plans because 14 points these days isn't that much. You can stay within your game plans in the second half, whereas 21 is, and you start to have to adjust. And we're just not able to get them to that point.
Yeah, we jump on teams early. Defense, I don't know whether this defense gets tired, we're out. I noticed Ryan Watts went out after with it looked like an ankle injury. I'm not sure if I didn't see him come back in the game. But stuff like that, defense getting wearing down, not be able to make adjustments.
We are absolutely you're absolutely right. What we do is we get up and then we kind of cruise in the second half. And that's more of an offensive thing. Defensively, I don't think it's that. The teams on offense just make adjustments. And again, we don't make adjustments on defense. I don't think we really need to make adjustments on offense if we stick to the game plan in the first half and just use the motion that we normally run. We abandon that for whatever reason in second half of games. And the secondary, for the last decade, other than Holton Hill at cornerback, no other DB has been able to play the football. No other DB plays the football. They play the man they are guarding and not the football. And I don't understand how you recruit people or how you get these coaches that don't know how to teach that. It's not hard. You get in your stance, you backpedal, you twist your hips when needed. And when the ball is in the air, you turn your head and play the football. It's not hard. And I don't know why it isn't. I don't know if it's not being taught. I don't know if it's the guys we're recruiting don't know how to do it. Like, I just don't know anymore. It's been over a decade and we've had the same issue.
Yeah, another thing I noticed on offense is ball tracking.
Xavier Worthy is terrible at that.
Is that being taught or just he cannot track a ball to save his life?
No, and I think a lot of it is frustration. Like, I think a lot of it is he's being missed on some of these, so he's just like, why am I going to track this ball when it's probably not even going to be catchable to me? Where there are some that we've seen multiple times this year where if he actually turned on the jets and was able to track the ball, he could have caught it. I've seen that like 2 to 3 times. If he doesn't trip versus Oklahoma State or dive or whatever happened there, he catches that for a touchdown. Like he does, he definitely, he's a very good player, no doubt. He'll probably be a first or second round pick. But the thing is, he really needs to learn. He needs to get better at catching the ball and tracking the ball. But he's got the intangibles. When he does catch the ball, he gets yards after the catch. He's very good, obviously, but those are his 2 biggest flaws. And then Whittington, just unless he's used on third down, they refuse to use him anywhere else. It's quite disappointing. I will say, though, Billingsley coming back does help. You saw him a couple times today where he's a good athlete. When he catches the ball in space, he can make guys miss. We need to use him more. What's so frustrating is I feel like Sark gets keyed in on 1 to 2 guys a game and concentrates on getting them the ball. Then the rest of the guys, he doesn't really use. We've seen that multiple times. We see the offense is run through Xavier Worthy and Bijan Robinson, and it should be, but you also have Jordan Whittington. You also have Jatavian Sanders. You also have Jaleel Billingsley. Like, these guys are good players. They should be getting the ball too. And I just don't understand why we need to be so focused on those 2 guys. I understand Bijan because he's the best running back in football, one of the 10 best players in college football, in my opinion. So use him a lot, but we also don't use him in the passing game. Like, after he caught that touchdown in the backfield, where was he in the passing game? We didn't use him at all in the second half in the passing game.
No, I don't think we're there, John. I don't think we're at the fire start, but something needs to change drastically.
Fire Sark talk comes next year at this time if this is happening. If this is happening the exact same time as next year, Fire Sark starts to happen. And I will say this team is definitely better than last year's team. There's no doubt about that. There's not as much quit. Like, the only guy that I've seen quit on Jaron Thompson, what the absolute hell was that? The man refuses to tackle.
Just an arm swap.
Yeah.
It wasn't even an arm tackle. He swapped him. And
that you cannot, that's like, there's 2 positions in football you cannot play if you refuse to hit people, and it's linebacker and safety. If you play those 2 positions, you have to be willing to absolutely put your health aside and blow people up. Those are the 2 positions, and he plays one of them, and he cannot be doing that. That reminded me so much of the shit BJ Foster was doing last year. Like, again, we have another highly rated guy that just has given up, and I just don't like that. He's the only one, though. I will say, last year there was a lot of them. This year it's him. And to be honest, this issue kind of was with him last year. That's why the coaching staff kind of benched him, because he doesn't like to tackle. And I just don't understand. That's a Tom Herman thing, because Tom Herman recruited him. How the hell do you recruit someone out of position that doesn't want to tackle? Killminded Music. I don't mind running the ball on first and second down. I don't like the plays they were using when it was counter after counter, and once the counter was figured out, there was no adjustments there on how to run the football. You can get creative if it's not working one way, and you have a guy like Bijan Robinson who's very talented, but again, you don't even have to run the ball. You can run pass plays that mimic run plays. If you want to get swing passes to Bijan Robinson, screens to when is the last time we have thrown a screen to Bijan Robinson? Have we ever thrown a screen to Bijan Robinson?
I think it's mostly been wheel routes and little dump passes.
So run a running back screen once in a while. Like, there's multiple ways you can get him the ball. And I think a lot of the times with like guys like Steve Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley, they like to keep it simple but disguise it. Sometimes you have to get creative because your guys are very good, but they're being keyed on so much that they're being taken out of the game. So just be a little bit more creative is my one big thing with Steve Sarkisian. Obviously, we have talented players, but you got to be a little bit more creative, especially in the second half of games. The problem with the team is there's multiple problems. One, I don't have an issue with the offensive line. I think the offensive line going forward, you've already seen progress this year. Kelvin Banks is really good. He had one bad game. I have no issue with that. I think the offensive line is fine moving forward. Quinn Ewers needs to get better at reading defenses. 2, we need to be more creative in second half of games offensively. 3, we need to learn how to play the ball as defensive backs and tackle better. Those are the 4 biggest things with the team, 100% in my opinion. Do you have any opinion on that, D4? What do you think the biggest issues with the team are?
I just think just play a 60-minute game. Just don't play 30. 60 minutes. Let's go. I mean, If you can't, you're going up against the number 11th ranked team in the country. If you can't get up for that for 4 quarters and leave it all out on the line, what are you doing in a Texas Longhorns uniform?
Yeah.
Just,
and I don't think the issue is really getting up more than like getting out of our own way in our own heads. I think that's a lot of the issue too, is why you see like these boneheaded mistakes and then the lack of tackling too. Like, especially in that third quarter, our tackling was abysmal in the third quarter. It was really bad.
Definitely. If I stated what I thought would be the biggest problem on your team, you'd accuse me of trouble. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd say it.
We're going to hear it regardless. It's just like you go from the highest of highs of beating Oklahoma 49-0 to the lowest of lows, watching your team absolutely blow a lead in a game that should have been 45-52-21.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me, is like watching that game in the first half where we were clearly the better team. And then we just absolutely shit the bed in the second half. That's the biggest. I'd rather come out. I will say this. I hated the Charlie Strong era, but at least you knew early if the game was going to be a loss, because that man got blown the hell out in every loss. Like, and when he lost big most games. So I don't mind that. I'd wait, because at least by halftime, you're like, oh, well, we lost. We're good. I absolutely hate every week we have a lead and then we get stabbed in the damn heart. It sucks. I hate it. I do not like that. I would much rather take a blowout loss, even though that does mean you're closer. Obviously, we're way closer to winning in Steve Sarkisian, the Tom Herman era, than we are the Charlie Strong era. But it's just, at the end of the day, a loss is a loss. And I'm just sick and tired of losing football games.
Yeah, it's especially games that you have double-digit leads in.
This is an interesting take. I could see this if this started happening like 5 years ago. This has been going on for 12 years, and that has not been going on for 12 years. And I do agree that would probably have some rub off on your team. But again, this was 12 years ago this started, so I disagree with that. But overall, it's frustrating, because I feel like a lot of players are not locked in the way they need to be. I'm not saying they're not trying. I think that was the case with a lot of guys last year, but I think a lot of the guys are not locked in properly the way they should be for 60 minutes.
No. That's evident with, case in point, Jaron Thompson.
Yeah, he needs to be benched. He should not be playing next week unless he comes in for a couple backup snaps and stuff like that, but he should not start. But another cool thing is we got to see Brendan Thompson, and that guy is fast, and it was nice to see him. Tariq Milton got a nice catch. We don't use him enough. Keelan Robinson, hey, we used him in the first half. Where the hell was he in the second half,
Yeah, what happened to the swing passes out to Keelan in motion, just like the lack of motion in the pass game in the second half is, like I said, it just gets more predictable as the game goes on, and you can't be that way. Sark may be a genius when it comes to offensive philosophy and offensive football, but when you start getting predictable in the second half, how much is that you sitting, doing your preparation for your scripted plays? Why can't you call, your genius plays in the second half?
Yeah, and I don't even think your plays need to be like super complex, but
No.
if you're not gonna use motion, they have to be. But if you just use motion more, I'm fine with that. And also get your guys like Keelan Robinson, Jordan Whittington the ball. The one thing that I expected more is Jordan Whittington played running back in high school. So why the hell is he not lined up in the backfield once in a while to throw him, get him on a linebacker? Like, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like that would be a very good play call to have him lined up on a linebacker when he comes out of the backfield, or even taking carries once or twice a game. Use Roschon Johnson in a play. I love how Sark was asked, hey, are you going to abandon the row cat formation? And he's like, no, haven't seen that once since then, by the way. And I didn't mind it. Like, I don't mind running it a couple times a game. I hated it when they were running it 15 times in one game, the same play. That's the issue.
Yeah, just go over some stats real quick.
Yeah, yes, please.
Oh, okay.
My bad.
Like I said, Quinn Ewers 19-49, 319 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Bijan 24 carries for 140 and a touchdown. Roschon 5 carries for 73 and a touchdown. Xavier Worthy, 4 receptions, 78 yards and a touchdown. Jatavion Sanders, 6 for 76, and Bijan 1 for 41 and touchdown. Yeah, and what was really irks me is, when the RPO starts working, get them to bite on it. And Jordan Whittington only had 1 catch for 23 yards. Ryan Watts had the INT, and I thought Xavier Worthy did decently well, and Keelan Robinson when it came to kick returns.
Yeah, and Keelan played well when he got the ball on offense. I think he got it once or twice, but we just need to have him more involved. I mean, again, more motion, more creativity, more, I think, wide receiver running back screens. Like, I really don't, now that that has come to mind, I really don't think we've ever thrown a running back screen to Bijan Robinson. I don't even know if that's in our repertoire of plays, to be honest with you. I disagree with this. I think we win minimum 2 more games. I mean, I think we can split with Kansas State and TCU, and then I think we can split with Kansas and Baylor, if not sweep both of them. They're not very good. Especially Kansas without Jalen Daniels is eh. If they had Jalen Daniels, they would scare me, and Jacob Beam's okay, but they did not look good today. By the way, I triple dipped in that game, took Okie, little money line, Okie, light +3, and the over. Yeah, the over probably hit. I don't even know what the over was, but it had to be pretty close to hitting at halftime.
I think it was low 60s.
Okay, yeah, I mean, it was 55 at halftime, so you got that pretty quickly in the second half. Even though both defenses did play better in the second half, I think that was mostly for, I think Oklahoma State, whatever speech they got, their front played much better in the second half. They dominated our offensive line in the second half, whereas we dominated them in the first half. So just very, very sloppy game all around. How many penalties did we end up having? 14?
14.
Yeah. So, and they had 0 again. I don't understand how that's possible, but they did.
Yeah, we had 14 for 119 yards. They had 0 for 0.
Yeah, and there was a couple there where that were obvious to me on their side, where they were every wide receiver screen they had or throw out to the flat, their wide receivers were holding on almost every one of those plays. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, it wasn't going to make a difference if we play our game. We should have won. Quinn Ewers played absolute crap. Again, also, Sarkisian, you see your quarterback struggling, you either have to pull him in that situation or you have to make him available for easy throws to get his confidence back up. And we never really had those. Most of them were down the field and they were not working. And at some point you have to abandon that. If you've thrown 4 or 5 down the field and they're overthrown or incomplete, you gotta throw it underneath. Baylor nearly coughed it up Kansas. I don't know. I don't think either of those teams are that good. That's why I'm saying I think minimum we split with them. That puts us at 6. I think we'll split with Kansas State or TCU, so 7. But I mean, in the worst world, I could see 6 and 6, but I just don't see it. I think we're 7-5 or 8-4.
Yeah.
We're just a totally different team at home too. It's insane how bad we are on the road.
Man, I can't believe we let them slip through our fingertips.
I'm trying to think when the last time we won a road game was. And I don't count Dallas versus Oklahoma.
Wasn't it last year? Was it at TCU?
Yeah,
last year.
What, week 3?
Yeah.
Oh my. Week 3 or 4. Yeah, that's bad. That's really bad. Yeah, John, we have 5. We're 5-3. Yeah, that's insane. That. So let's see how many games is that in a row we've lost on the road. 2 this year. Probably 3 or 4 last year. So 6 in a row, 5 or 6 in a row. That's bad. And I think that tells you this team gets overwhelmed on the road, which is not a good sign. But we got to fix that at some point. And I don't know if Hudson Card coming to this game helps us win. I don't know how he would have done off being called in like that. But I mean, I think it was worth a shot there once they tied it up, but who knows?
So bad for Team with cities. He's on that Californians thing.
Hey, USC's good, and they're in California, so. Hey, it's almost basketball season.
Jeez. Oh.
What?
Football shouldn't be this like I said, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, man.
I know. But I know the basketball team was a little bit overrated last year. I think they're going to be very good this year. So I'm actually excited to watch. And Chris Beard actually has a style of basketball. Like, you know what you're going to get. So it's going to be interesting. Hudson couldn't have hurt. Ewers just looks out of sorts. Yeah, he did. He was overthrowing everything. And they said he was wearing a glove pregame. So that was weird. I don't know what that was about. I don't know if he couldn't grip it because of the wind or get it through the wind. I mean, the wind did play a factor. 25-mile-per-hour winds are always going to play a factor. But you would think with someone with that big of an arm that wouldn't play a factor. Hudson Card might still have a lingering injury, and even if he was healthy, I'm not sure he was the answer today. I mean, yeah, but you got to try something. You can't just keep throwing Ewers out there after the game he had. And Hudson, like I said, if Steve Sarkisian was able to let him be himself and run around, I think there was opportunities to where he could escape versus that. I mean, you saw Quinn Ewers the one play, escaped and get that 40-yard gain, obviously got called back because of holding, which was a absolute bogus holding call, but I think there are plays like that for Hudson Card available if he were to enter the game. And this is the type of game, too, where the deep ball, what makes Quinn Ewers better than Hudson Card is the deep ball. And if he's not hitting the deep ball, then I think Hudson Card's just as good as him.
Yeah, if I thought that was what separated the two at the beginning of the season. Quinn Ewers' ability to hit the deep ball and stretch the field. But like, if he can't do it, at least on a 50% basis. Come on now.
Yeah, that's the thing. If he can't do that, then I believe Hudson Card actually, if he's able to be unleashed and run, then he's a better option. But obviously, this is the first game where I've thought that. Like, Ewers has been good up until this point. So we'll see what Kansas State does. Obviously, Oklahoma State's defense is not very good. So I don't know. Kansas State's is better, but we'll have to see. Obviously, we play them on the road, right? I believe
Murphy's been injured for most of the season. He had a what was it, surgery in the off season?
Are we talking Malik?
Malik, yeah.
Yeah.
So he's just now getting to actual practice.
Yeah, 100% they've given us trouble. Mike Gundy is a good coach. Mike Gundy's biggest issue is he always trips up on one game a season to where that costs them a shot at like going to a national championship or a college football playoff. That's always been the case. He's always tripped up on one game that matters every year when they've had a good team like this. And he did it this year again. And unless they win out, and they win out convincingly, in my opinion, they're not going to make the college football playoff. So I don't see them winning out, by the way. I don't think Spencer Sanders is capable of winning that many games in a row. I just don't. And I don't think their defense is good enough to carry them. TCU may actually win this conference, which would I wonder what the offseason odds were on that. I thought they were going to be better than most people thought they were going to be, but I didn't think they were going to be this good.
I personally thought they were going to be in the cellar.
I like Sonny Dykes. I don't know why California. I mean, California sucks in general. But I don't know why they fired him. Yep, Gundy has that one game a year like Harbaugh where he can't get out of his own way 100%. But at least Harbaugh, I mean, Harbaugh has gotten out of his own way because they've been to the college football playoff and they beat Ohio State last year, and they should have beat Ohio State twice if not for that terrible call back in 2016. So Harbaugh's a better coach than Gundy, but they're similar. They're very similar in like their demeanor too. But Gundy has adjusted. I will give him that. They used to have high-flying offenses and no defenses, and then they went to Jim Knowles, got better on defense, and he's kind of started to take defense more seriously with the hiring of Derek Mason and Jim Knowles, the last two guys being there. So I respect him for that. I think he's obviously a very good coach. TCU had to be close to a plus 1,000, probably. I mean, yeah. And to be honest with you, this would have been the year in general for the Big 12 to take a long shot. Like, there was no great team coming into the season. So anyone that put money on TCU, congrats. You have a good chance. If they win tonight, they're going to be in the Big 12 championship game, I think. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can win it. And obviously, Max Duggan scares the absolute hell out of us Texas fans because he always destroys us. He's like a better version of Spencer Sanders, so it'll be interesting. He finally is playing well though this year, unlike the last couple of years where he hasn't been that good, but he plays insanely good versus Texas.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of with Adrian Martinez.
Yeah. I will say that about Adrian Martinez. Adrian Martinez is mostly running ability. He doesn't really have much of a throw. He's not a great thrower.
He still hasn't thrown a pick this year.
That's true. That just means he's due, though.
Yeah.
Not with our defensive backs, though. They'll get a lot of pass interference calls. So
yeah, or just knock it away and not try to turn and look for the ball.
Yeah. The one on Deshaun Jameson was bogus, though. That was not a good call.
No.
And he's like the one guy I will say he's gotten better at that, but everyone else has not. Ryan Watts has all the physical tools, but he's not a great cornerback. He's a good tackler, and he's overall pretty good player, but he's not a great cornerback.
Yeah, we gave up 32 first downs. They were 8 of 19 on third down, 535 total yards, 393 passing, 142 rushing, and they won the time of possession 33 minutes to 27 minutes.
How many what was our third down rate? 3 of like 15?
3 of 17.
Yeah, that's
0 for 2 on third or fourth.
So 3 of 19, basically. That's god awful. And it would have been interesting there at the end if Jatavian Sanders brings that in. We're gonna have 2 plays at the end zone. He's got to catch that. But guys, I think it's that time of the show where you hit that like button, you subscribe down below. This show is brought to you by Mark Rogers, the voice of college football. So again, please hit that like button. Please subscribe to the channel. Go over to his channel, like his content. Go over to all those other team channels, like their content, subscribe to them as well. Go over to D4 Sports, like his content, subscribe. D4, can you plug it? Mark Rogers Patreon real quick.
Yeah, man. Patreon, you get access to Mark's picks for the week. I think it was like 24 of 10 or something like that before this weekend. But you also get access to the Discord server, which guys like me and, Tim and all those guys that are on the USC show, the Michigan guys, all those guys are on there. We talk college football 24/7, goof off with a bunch of knuckleheads, just talking college football 24/7.
It's a good time, guys. It's only $5 a month, like you said. Please go over there and do that. Join there. Have fun. If you love college football, it's the place to be. Again, hit that like button and subscribe down below. Thank you guys very much. Double M. So does anyone know how much influence Patterson has on the defensive play calling? Bama game, it looked like his fingerprints on it, but since I'm not so sure. So basically, my opinion on this, and this was early in the season, was I believe Gary Patterson was handed at the beginning of the season 3 or 4 games for him to just deep dive into and just script the hell out of the defensive game plan. Just analyze the hell out of the teams that Steve Sarkisian gave the sheet to. I believe Alabama was one of those. I believe Oklahoma State was one of those. Obviously didn't work out. I believe most likely TCU is one of those because he hates TCU now and he probably always will. And then I believe Baylor was the other one. So I believe those are the 4 games that he really keyed in on. The rest of them, I think it's going to be mostly Kwiatkowski, week by week basis type of thing. But that's just my opinion on it. I don't know. That's just my guess.
Some other stats for the game. We had 523 total yards, 319 passing, 204 rushing, and 3 turnovers, of course, the 3 picks. We held their run game to 3.6 yards per carry. They ran it 40 times for 142 yards.
And I believe most of that running game for us came in the first half. Probably 160 of those yards came in the first half. Bijan was spectacular in the first half. Obviously shut him down, and we didn't get creative on ways to get him the ball in the second half. And he was, like I said, shut down basically. But obviously not a great game plan by us overall in the second half. No adjustments made on either side of the ball. But I think, like I said, I think there's some positives not coming out of this game, but going through the season, hopefully we take the negatives out of this game away and key in on the positives and move forward and continue to win football games. Obviously, my opinion, we have to go 8-4. I think anything less than that would be a little bit of disappointment. I mean, if we lose out, then the Steve Sarkisian fire talk is a real possibility. You can't go 5-7 back-to-back years. That's legitimately what Charlie Strong was doing. So you can't do that.
Right now, currently, Kansas State beating TCU 14-10. Crazy day of college football.
Go have a glass of 3 of bourbon, guys, to numb the pain. I'm not a big drinker, so I will not be doing that. D4, I don't know if you want to go shoot some bourbon.
I'm not a drinker, man. I have other ways. I won't get into that on Mark's channel, but I'm not a drinker. Especially, I don't know. I don't like liquor.
I think he's more of a devil's lettuce type of man, but
Busted.
Yeah, it's cool. I understand. I get it. I would definitely rather go that route than drinking, but I'm going to go with neither because I got to work in the morning, and I think I may just take a Benadryl and just sleep. So that will be my way of numbing the pain.
It's awesome. Good old work in the morning. Luckily, I don't have to. And I'm going to sleep in and probably hang out with the knuckleheads in the Discord, Mark's Discord services. You can get on through Patreon and talk about my sorrows in there. And hopefully sharing some sorrows with those guys.
Listen, I'm a gigantic sports fan, and this sports weekend is just a big old shit fest for me. I'm a Yankees fan. They're going to get swept by the Astros, so that's going to be fun again. Obviously, Texas lost. I'm a Broncos fan. Russell Wilson's hurt. They're playing like absolute dog crap on offense, and he's not even playing tomorrow. So it's like I'm so invested with sports, and then this stuff happens. It hurts, man. It sucks. I don't have an NBA team. I'm a Thunder fan, but I don't watch them anymore. I mean, they suck, and there's no point of wasting 82 games of that on myself. So I just don't even know what to do anymore. Like like legitimately, I'm praying for Texas basketball to be like a top 10 team this year. That's what I'm praying for.
What are we preseason ranked?
We're top 15. I'm not 100% sure our exact ranking, but a lot of transfers. We got Tyrese Hunter from Iowa State, who was the Big 12 Freshman of the Year. Dylan Mitchell came in, really good player from Florida, top, I believe, 20 recruit. Marcus Carr's back. I mean, this team should be a top 12 team in the country. There's no reason why they shouldn't be.
I seen where a bunch of guys were coming to visit, like Stojakovic and
that would be amazing. Yeah, he's in our top. We're in his top 4, and that'd be amazing to get Peja Stojakovic's son. I think we'll be in the running for LeBron James's kid too. I think we'll make his top probably 10.
What about 6-6? Does that fire up? I mean, yeah, with some fans, that would fire up some talk.
6-6 gets us to the point to where if he doesn't win the bowl game, I believe the fire start talk starts to come. I don't think 7-5 does, because you got to look at, is it an improvement over last year? 5-7 to 7-5 is a 2-game improvement. If he does that again next year and they go 9-3, I think we wouldn't be happy about 9-3 next year, because we see that as more of a Big 12 championship year. But I think we would be like, okay, there's improvement. Like, we just want steady improvement. If we're talking year 4, we're winning conference titles or competing for conference titles, which will probably be our last year in the Big 12. I think there's no issue with that. Like, most Texas fans would take that, but we just have to have improvement. 5-7, 6-6 does put like 5-7. I think most of the fan base would be, we got to find someone else. 6-6 would be like, win the bowl game, we'll give you another year, we'll see what happens. But 5-7 100% puts him on the hot seat.
But my thing is even if he gets put on the hot seat or the fire starts, who are we going to replace him with?
Yeah,
there's nobody out there that's enticing enough. There's nobody out there that is going to leave the current job that they are at to go be lined up in front of the firing squad, when you lose a game with this fan base.
Hey, there's a guy sitting on a TV set with Fox. If we go 6-6 or 5-7, that's going to be start to thrown out there again, right?
Oh man.
And I'm gonna
it'll be out there.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest with you. I really believe if he doesn't take that Jacksonville job, he is our head coach right now. I'm very confident saying that because there was too much smoke there. Like he was legitimately behind the scenes talking to Texas guys. There was money thrown around. You could start to hear like what type of money he'd be making, and he was looking for a coaching staff. But then I think he got the Jacksonville job and he wanted to test himself, which he was stupid for that. He should have stayed in college. He should have joined us. But I didn't want him a couple years ago. I don't care if you want the devil to be our head coach. I want to win. So, and he wins. He wins wherever he's ever been in. And I think we definitely have the talent. Like he's definitely the type of guy where he looks at the rosters like, can I win instantly with this team? This man can come in here and win instantly. There's no doubt about that in mind. So I don't think it's going to happen, but the rumors are going to be there.
If Shelly Smith was your mom or sister, then there's no way in hell you'd want Urban Meyer as your coach.
At this point, I want to say something as a god awful joke. I'm not going to say it because this isn't my channel. But
don't get caught up in it. Don't get caught up in it.
I won't. But I'm not trying not to get canceled before my career in this type of thing even starts. So but I want to win. I really don't care about the off-field stuff. I don't. I'm done with it. I'm done caring. I'm done taking the moral high ground about this stupid stuff. Like I want to win. I'm done with it. I want to win football games. I'm sick and tired of losing. I don't care if we hire a guy who's doing coke every weekend with strippers. If he's going 12-0, I don't give a shit. It's not my life. I'm not doing it. So I really don't care. That's how I look at it. I think you're muted, D4.
I said here at Mark Rogers TV, we are not here to judge coaches based on their personal life. We're basing it on their record.
Yeah. Like don't get me wrong, if I could have the perfect human being who could also go 12-0, I'm going to choose that every freaking time over that guy. But if you're telling me I'm going 7-5 with a perfect human being, or I'm going 12-0 with an absolute scumbag, I'm taking the scumbag every time. Hey, that's fair. But my point is I'm getting my degree to be doing this full time on TV. So I don't want to be canceled before that even starts is my point. Because you know how life works. And if I were to get famous in 10 years, this would be brought up and I would be donezo. So fair enough. You already had that in Tom Herman. Yeah, we did. And he couldn't even do that. He went 10-4 as his best season. So but see, we got to take his boss. His boss just didn't pass down all the knowledge. He just gave him the shitty knowledge of coke and strippers and stuff like that. He didn't take the good stuff.
Oh, man.
Urban's head is already hurting. Yeah, from watching this team, it definitely is.
Take him having chest pains.
Yeah, after Quinn Ewers goes 19 of 49 in his in one of his games, he's going to be dead on the sideline. So, of course, you know, I live in Ohio. I could have been an Ohio State fan. Life could be easy for me, but I had to go down this route, and this route's hard.
I live in Tennessee, and
hey, you would have been doing about the same thing up until now. Tennessee's good now, but
yeah, it's I've seen their misery.
Tennessee, Tennessee's got a chance to. If they beat Georgia, they're going to be ranked number 1. So that'll be interesting. I guess Oklahoma should have hired Josh Heupel. Who would have thought?
Jim Tressel's still out there too. I think Maurice.
That's one interesting why he never got another job. I'm very interested in that. I don't know why. Now he's the, I believe, the president of Youngstown University. So, Youngstown State. As an LSU fan, when Urban's name, Brian Kelly killed somebody. So, if you want to go there, but I don't know what you're going to say to that, but it's true. Before you got your face was like
yes, Larry Trevino, very ugly performance all around. I agree, buddy.
Yeah, other than special teams, and I'm taking Bert Auburn out of that, but other than special teams, yes. Yeah, I mean, Brian Kelly is a good coach, though. No hatred. Like, he was on my list of guys I wish Texas would have looked at. And clearly, he was available because if he's going to leave from Notre Dame, I believe Texas is just as good of a job as LSU. So I don't know why we wouldn't have looked into that, but we didn't. And I like Steve Sarkisian as a person. I think he's a good play caller as well. So far, I mean, head coach wise, I just don't see it. So we'll see. Is this true? Man,
No, I don't know.
if that's news to me, I didn't hear about that. That's also weird. Why? What player was hanging out with a meth dealer?
Is that part of the whole? Is that part of the whole tattoo scandal and everything?
See, that's what I thought the big thing was. And back then, like, I understand why that was a big deal. That'd be legitimately nothing now. Like, you're trading memorabilia to get tattoos. That's, to be honest, that's even stupid that it was a big deal back then. That was really stupid. It's their stuff. If they want to trade their stuff to get tattoos, there should be no problem with that. It's stupid by them, in my opinion, because their stuff in 10 years was worth way more than those tattoos were worth at the time. But hey, that's crazy if that's true. I'll have to look into that. Yes, that's what the email scandal was about. Hey, I didn't know that. So even then, I still I would give him another shot. There's worse things, guys. Like, people were talking about Art Briles was going to have a head coaching job at Division I school before, or he was going to be the offensive coordinator somewhere before, like, they basically rioted, right? I forget where it was exactly.
Double M says that never happened. He lived near Columbus when all that happened.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that sounded weird. But it's, I mean, there's a lot of people in college football that have done shitty things. So I like how John just skipped over the. We got a little fight here, but John, you never answered the Brian Kelly thing. You know, I threw that out there and you just didn't, talk about it. You kind of skipped over it, but hey, I understand.
You want to go there, do you, buddy?
But LSU, I mean, they're the worst, like, good football team I've ever seen. Like, they're abysmal to watch.
Oh, look. Turned it on to one of my Facebook groups, Texas Longhorns Fanatics. Let's get a little bit light out there.
What does it say? Oh.
Go figure.
The guy could have quit. Okay, well, yeah.
Oh man.
Well, I think it's getting late in the night for us, and John clearly does not want to talk about this. So please hit that like button. Please. Oh wait, who's the worst? I'll answer this. Who's the worst good football team you've ever seen? That's a good question. I'm gonna be honest. I'm a Broncos fan. The 2015 team that won the Super Bowl, that team wasn't a great. Like, the defense was all time. I think that's a top 3 defense ever. But that team overall, that was Peyton Manning. He was just not good at that point. And I'm the biggest Peyton Manning fan you'll find. I love that guy, but he was not good at that point. And that team somehow won the Super Bowl. Like, so that was probably the NFL wise. That's what I can think of right now, because that's who I watched a lot. The Dallas Cowboys, the year where Dak Prescott's, I believe, rookie year, were they really good? Were one of the worst good football teams I've seen too. College, there's always one or two teams in college every year that you're just surprised at how is this team's record the way it is. And LSU is definitely that for me this year. They're like, when I watch them, they're dreadful. Like, they don't look good, but somehow they win. Oh yeah, I said that. I don't think LSU is, like, just watch them. They don't look good, but they win. That's all that matters. Like, today's the first game where, like, wow, that team actually looks good. There's been multiple games. The Mississippi State game comes to mind. They were not looking good in that game. Somehow won. There's another game I can't think of, like, right now, but they didn't look good, but they won. They just grind. They're grinding out wins, and that's what a good coach like Brian Kelly's a very good coach. There's no doubt he's one of the top 5 coaches in the sport right now. So I applaud them. Like, they're winning games. That's all that matters. But again, guys, can you please hit that like button? Please subscribe down below. It really helps out the channel. Mark is trying to build something here. So again, subscribe, like the channel, go over to all the channels list, subscribe to that content, like the videos. We're going to be here after every Texas game, most likely, unless something crazy happens like last week. D4, can you plug that Patreon one more time?
Yes, sir. Patreon, you get access to Mark's picks for the week, and also get to hang out in the Discord server with guys like me and these other guys that do shows on Mark's channel and talk college football. Hang out in a like a StreamYard like this right here after the games, talk about them, stuff like that, and just I'll talk about football 24/7, and that's we're all college football nerds, or we wouldn't be hanging around channels and doing shows all about college football if we didn't love it. So.
Yeah, guys, always a fun time on here. Again, the final score, Oklahoma State 41, Texas 34. Texas moves to 5-3. Oklahoma State only has one loss. They I believe 7-1. So a good season for the Pokes so far. Again, can you please hit that like button, subscribe down below. D4, do you have anything else for the people?
Oh man, thank y'all for watching. Sorry, I've been going nonstop since about 4 o'clock this morning, so I'm kind of I'm tired and sorry you get low energy me right now, but we appreciate everybody that watches and shares this content out and everything. We just appreciate you and keep coming.
Yeah, guys, keep coming back. We want the channel to grow, so get some more people in here for us next time. We love interacting with you guys, going through the comments. It's always a great time with you guys. Again, guys, Texas loses, but hook 'em.